Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brother and sister, welcome back to Islamic Notes channel. Georgia, a country located at the crossroads of Eastern Europe and Western Asia, is known for its long history as a melting pot of cultures, religions, and civilizations. Although the majority of the population is Orthodox Christian, Islam plays a significant role in Georgia's history and religious diversity. The country's Muslim community has been present for centuries and continues to play an active role in modern society. History of Islam in Georgia. Islam began to spread to Georgia in the 7th and 8th centuries CE, along with the expansion of the Islamic Caliphate into the Caucasus region. Islamic influence intensified in the 16th to 18th centuries, when the Ottoman Empire and the Persian Khaganate controlled much of Georgia. During this time, many regions in southwestern and southeastern Georgia, such as Adjara, Samtskhe-Javakheti, and Kvemo Kartli, became centers of Muslim settlement. During the Ottoman period, Islam spread widely in the Adjara region, which is now one of the main Muslim enclaves in Georgia. The conversion of the local population to Islam was largely due to the political and cultural influence of the Ottoman Empire, although many also maintained their local traditions and culture. Following Georgia's incorporation into the Russian Empire in the 19th century, and especially during the Soviet era, religion, both Islam and Christianity, was severely repressed. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Georgia became an independent state and reopened its borders to religious expression. Muslims in Georgia now constitute a significant minority, accounting for approximately 10% of the total population, approximately 500,000 to 600,000. Although this figure varies depending on the source and data collection methodology. The majority of Muslims in Georgia are divided into two major groups: Sunni Muslims and Shia Muslims. The Sunni community is primarily found in the Adjara and Guria regions of southwestern Georgia, while the Shia community is primarily of Azeri ethnicity and resides in the Kvemo Kartli region of southeastern Georgia, near the border with Azerbaijan. In addition to these groups, there are also small communities of Chechen and Kist Muslims living in the Pankisi Gorge region of northeastern Georgia. They generally practice Sunni Islam with Sufi tendencies, although in recent decades there has been a rise in the influence of Salafism in this region. The Muslim community in Georgia actively practices its religious life despite various challenges. In Adjara, for example, there are several historic mosques that serve as centers of religious and social activities. Furthermore, various Islamic organizations serve as liaisons between the community and the government and as facilitators of religious and educational activities. However, access to Islamic religious education remains limited, primarily due to limited state support and the lack of Islamic higher education institutions in the country. Many Georgian Muslim students ultimately choose to study in Turkey, Iran, or Arab countries. The Muslim community in Georgia faces a number of challenges, both social, economic, and political. One major issue is discrimination and marginalization in public life. Although all religions are legally recognized and guaranteed freedom of religion, in practice inequality persists. For example, in building houses of worship, the Muslim community often faces administrative obstacles and resistance from the predominantly Christian local community. Another issue that has emerged is the lack of political representation among Muslims. They rarely hold prominent positions in government or state institutions, and the community's aspirations are often not taken seriously. Furthermore, Islamophobic sentiments remain pervasive in parts of the media and public discourse. In the Pankisi Gorge region, security concerns and stereotypes of Chechen and Kist Muslims as radical or extremist have created tensions between local communities and the government. This has been exacerbated by several past terrorist incidents attributed to individuals from the region, although the vast majority of Pankisi residents live peacefully and condemn violence. Despite these challenges, there have also been positive efforts to strengthen interfaith harmony. Non-governmental organizations, interfaith organizations, and educational institutions play a significant role in fostering dialogue between Muslim and Orthodox Christian communities in Georgia. The government, while still facing criticism on many fronts, has taken steps, such as providing grants to non-Orthodox religious communities. Georgia's bilateral relations with Muslim countries such as Turkey, Iran, and Azerbaijan have also impacted its domestic positions and policies regarding Muslims. Turkey, for example, has funded the renovation of several historic mosques in the Adjara region. The development of Islam in Georgia. Georgia is a country located in the Caucasus region, on the border between Eastern Europe and Western Asia. Historically, the country has a strategic geographic position and served as a crossroads of various civilizations, religions, and cultures. Although the majority of Georgia's population today is Orthodox Christian, Islam has a long history and significant influence on the country's social and cultural development. Since its arrival in the 7th century, Islam has experienced complex dynamics influenced by political factors, foreign powers, and social change. Islam first entered Georgia in the 7th century AD through the expansion of the Umayyad Caliphate into the Transcaucasian region. Initially, Arab forces began conquering southern Georgia, particularly the regions of Kakheti and Kartli. However, Islamic dominance in this region did not completely displace the deeply rooted Christian culture. Georgia continued to maintain its Christian identity, although Islamic influence began to be felt in the political and cultural spheres. During the Abbasid Caliphate, Islamic influence in Georgia grew stronger. Several regions, particularly those near the borders of modern-day Azerbaijan, became home to thriving Muslim communities. Islam also gained traction among the local ruling elite, who maintained ties with Muslim rulers from Persia and Arabia. From the 11th to 13th centuries, Georgia experienced a series of invasions by Muslim dynasties, such as the Seljuks and later the Muslim Ilkhanids. Despite military and political pressure, the Kingdom of Georgia, under Queen Tamar, 12th century, managed to maintain its autonomy and even became a dominant power in the Caucasus. However, in border regions such as Adjara and Kvemo Kartli, Islamic influence remained strong due to their proximity to the Ottoman Empire and Persia. The peak of Islamic influence occurred during the Ottoman Empire and the Safavid dynasty, Iran, in this region. Adjara, a region in southwestern Georgia, became part of the Ottoman Empire and underwent significant Islamization. To this day, Adjara still has a sizable Sunni Muslim population. In the 19th century, Georgia was annexed by the Russian Empire. Since then, Muslims in Georgia have faced pressure from the Russian Orthodox Christian authorities. Many mosques were closed and religious activities were restricted. The policies of Russification and Christianization implemented by the Tsarist government made it difficult for the Muslim community to maintain its religious identity. After the Bolshevik Revolution and the formation of the Soviet Union, repression against all religions, including Islam, intensified. Under atheistic Soviet rule, many religious institutions were dissolved and religious leaders were persecuted. Mosques in many regions were destroyed or converted into other public buildings. After the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, Georgia regained independence and began a process of democratization and religious revival. Islam began to revive, especially in regions with traditional Muslim communities such as Adjara, Kvemo Kartli, and the Pankisi Gorge. In Adjara, the Sunni Muslim community continues to grow, while in Kvemo Kartli, the majority of Muslims are ethnic Azerbaijanis and Shia. In the Pankisi Gorge, there is a predominantly Sunni ethnic Kis community, with a small minority influenced by Salafi thought. Although the Georgian constitution guarantees freedom of religion, the country's Muslim community still faces challenges. There are inequalities in the construction of places of worship, social discrimination, and limited access to adequate religious education. Several incidents of intolerance have also occurred, such as the rejection of the construction of a new mosque in Tbilisi, which has drawn criticism from human rights organizations. In the modern socio-political context, Islam in Georgia is part of a diverse pluralistic identity. The Georgian government strives to maintain a balance between its strong Orthodox Christian heritage and the need to accommodate the rights of religious minorities, including Muslims. However, ethnic and religious tensions sometimes arise, especially in border regions or areas with a history of ethno-political conflict. Georgia's relations with Muslim countries such as Turkey, Iran, and Azerbaijan also influence the dynamics of domestic Islam. Turkey, for example, is actively involved in funding mosque construction and Islamic education in Adjara. On the other hand, the issue of radicalization among Muslim youth in the Pankisi Gorge has attracted national and international attention, especially when several youths from the region were reported to have joined militant groups in Syria. The phenomenon of many Georgians converting to Islam. In recent years, Georgia, a small country in the Caucasus region located between Eastern Europe and Western Asia, has experienced a social and spiritual phenomenon that has attracted international attention. Many Georgians, especially young and educated people, have been converting to Islam. This phenomenon raises profound questions about what is driving this conversion in a country where the majority of the population is Orthodox Christian. Historically, Islam is not foreign to Georgia. Since the 7th century, Islamic influence has penetrated the region through various conquests and trade relations with the Muslim world, particularly from Persia, the Umayyad Caliphate, and later the Ottoman Empire. In some regions, such as Adjara, Kvemo Kartli, and Samtskhe-Javakheti, Muslim communities have long been part of Georgia's ethnic and religious mosaic. However, in the modern era, Georgia's Muslim population remains a minority, while Orthodox Christianity has become the dominant religion. A number of factors have driven many Georgians to convert to Islam, including spiritual, social, and political factors. Many Georgians, especially the younger generation, feel they cannot find spiritual peace in the religious traditions they have embraced since birth. In their search for a deeper meaning in life, they have begun reading and studying Islamic teachings, whether through the internet, interactions with Muslim communities, or personal study. Many report finding serenity, discipline, and clarity in Islamic teachings on the relationship between humans and God, others, in the universe. The development of information technology has played a significant role in introducing Islam to the global community, including Georgia. Through platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, many Georgians are exposed to lectures, discussions, and testimonies from converts from various countries. The moderate, logical, and emotionally engaging preaching content has successfully attracted people's interest in learning more about Islam. The expanding social interaction between Muslim and non-Muslim communities in Georgia has also contributed to the conversion process. Marriages between Georgians and Muslim partners, whether from neighboring countries like Turkey and Azerbaijan or from the Middle East, often serve as a gateway for Georgians to learn more about Islam. Some Georgians criticize the Orthodox Church, which they perceive as overly political, conservative, or unresponsive to modern social issues. In this context, Islam is seen as a more authentic and down-to-earth alternative. Some converts have stated that they feel more valued and accepted within the Muslim community. The growing number of converts in Georgia has sparked mixed reactions from both society and the government. On the one hand, some see it as part of constitutionally guaranteed religious freedom. However, many others have shown resistance or even discrimination against new converts. Some converts report pressure from their surroundings, particularly from family and local communities, who still view conversion as a betrayal of tradition and national identity. However, many Georgian religious leaders and intellectuals have advocated for tolerance and interfaith dialogue as a path to a more peaceful and inclusive society. Converts in Georgia face various challenges, from adapting to Islamic teachings and practices to social challenges such as stigma and alienation. However, despite these challenges, many have found new strength, a supportive community, in the drive to become better individuals. This phenomenon also brings hope for the future of interfaith relations in Georgia. As more Georgians learn about Islam from within, rather than through prejudice or negative media, bridges of understanding and tolerance can be strengthened. Islam will no longer be seen as a foreign religion, but as a legitimate part of Georgia's spiritual heritage. Muslim life in Georgia. Georgia, a small country located in the Caucasus region between Europe and Asia, is known for its rich culture and long history. While the majority of its population is Orthodox Christian, Georgia is also home to a Muslim community that has long been part of the country's social fabric. Muslim life in Georgia reflects a complex interplay of tradition, ethnic identity, and modern political and social dynamics. Islam entered Georgia in the 7th century when the Arab Caliphate began expanding its influence in the Caucasus region. The spread of Islam became more significant during the reign of the Ottoman and Persian empires, which ruled various parts of Georgia at different times. As a result, Muslim communities began to settle and thrive in various regions, particularly in the southern and eastern parts of the country. Some of the most well-known Muslim ethnic groups in Georgia are the Azeris, Azerbaijani Georgians, the Adjara, a predominantly Muslim Georgian ethnic group, and the Chechens and Kists, who live in the eastern mountainous region. Each of these communities has its own unique history, traditions, and relationship with Islam. Muslims in Georgia are currently estimated to comprise approximately 10 to 13% of the country's population. The largest concentrations of Muslims are found in the regions of Kvemo Kartli, primarily the Azeri community, Samtskhe-Javakheti, and Adjara. The Adjara region, which borders Turkey, has a sizable ethnic Georgian Muslim population, a result of centuries of Ottoman influence. In addition, there are small Muslim communities in major cities like Tbilisi, the capital of Georgia, where they live side by side with a variety of other religious and ethnic groups. Despite being a minority, Muslims in Georgia generally practice their religious practices openly. There are active mosques in various regions, including the Juma Mosque in Tbilisi, which has become a symbol of tolerance because it is shared by both Sunni and Shia Muslims. However, access to structured Islamic education remains limited. Many Muslim families rely on informal madrasas, Islamic schools, learn from local imams, or send their children abroad for more in-depth religious education, such as to Turkey, Iran, or Azerbaijan. Islamic holidays such as Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha are celebrated enthusiastically by Muslim communities, although they are not national holidays. These communities are also active in social activities such as charity, religious studies, and organizing Islamic cultural events. The Georgian government constitutionally guarantees freedom of religion. However, in practice, Muslims sometimes face discrimination or inequality, particularly in terms of political representation and access to public resources. Several reports from human rights organizations indicate that Muslim communities in rural areas face difficulties in building or renovating mosques due to social or administrative pressures. Relations between Muslims and the Orthodox Christian majority are generally peaceful, but inter-community tensions can arise from time to time, particularly when political issues touch on religious or ethnic identity. For example, there have been minor incidents reflecting tensions between Muslim communities and Orthodox nationalist groups, particularly in areas that have historically experienced identity conflicts. Muslim life in Georgia also faces modern challenges such as urbanization, the influence of globalization, and changing social values. Many young Muslims face an identity dilemma. On the one hand, they want to preserve their Islamic heritage and traditional values, while on the other, they want to adapt to modern life and the mainstream of secular Georgian society. Furthermore, the issue of radicalization and extremism, while not widespread, has become a concern for the Georgian government. Several cases of individuals from the Muslim community in the Pankisi Gorge joining extremist groups in the Middle East have created a negative stigma against the Muslim community as a whole, even though the vast majority of Georgian Muslims live peacefully and reject violence. Despite facing numerous challenges, the Muslim community in Georgia continues to demonstrate resilience and a spirit of contribution to national life. Efforts at interfaith dialogue, cross-cultural education programs, and community initiatives to strengthen internal solidarity are key to creating an inclusive society. Going forward, it is hoped that the Georgian government will be more proactive in guaranteeing equal rights for all religious communities and creating a public space that respects religious diversity. The development of mosques in Georgia. Georgia, a country located in the Caucasus region on the border of Europe and Asia, has a long and rich history of cultural and religious diversity. While the majority of Georgia's population is Orthodox Christian, the country also has a significant Muslim community, particularly in certain regions such as Adjara, in areas near the borders with Azerbaijan and Turkey. The development of mosques in Georgia reflects the complex social, political, and cultural dynamics and transformations that have occurred over the past few decades. The presence of Muslim communities in Georgia dates back to the Middle Ages, when the region served as a crossroads for trade and migration routes for various ethnicities and peoples. Small mosques began to be built as centers of worship and social activities for Muslim communities, particularly along the Black Sea coast and in areas bordering Muslim-majority countries. During the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union, religious freedom was severely restricted, including for Muslims. Many mosques were closed or converted, and Muslim religious activities were restricted. Following the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1990s, Georgia experienced a resurgence in religious practices, including among the Muslim community. The Georgian government has begun to recognize the importance of religious freedom and is supporting the restoration of abandoned or disused mosques. Mosque construction and renovation are underway in various cities, particularly in Batumi, Tbilisi, and regions with significant Muslim populations. One prominent example is the Orthodox Mosque in Tbilisi, one of the oldest mosques in Georgia and a symbol of the continued presence of the Muslim community in the capital. Extensive renovations have been undertaken to restore the mosque's function as a place of worship and center for religious activities. Furthermore, the construction of new mosques continues in response to the needs of the growing Muslim community. Despite this progress, the development of mosques in the Muslim community in Georgia faces various challenges. One of the main challenges is the political and social dynamics that sometimes create tensions between religious groups. There are also administrative and bureaucratic obstacles in the process of building new mosques, as well as resistance from some community groups who are less accepting of the Muslim minority. However, the Georgian government is generally committed to maintaining tolerance and diversity. Efforts at interfaith dialogue and interfaith programs are being strengthened to promote mutual understanding and social harmony. Muslim organizations in Georgia are also active in promoting educational, cultural, and social activities that strengthen their community's position in society. The development of mosques in Georgia is expected to continue to increase in line with the growth of the Muslim community and demographic changes. New modern mosques with complete facilities are emerging, serving not only as places of worship, but also as centers of Islamic culture and education. This demonstrates that the Muslim community in Georgia is becoming more organized and playing an active role in the country's social life. Furthermore, international cooperation with neighboring countries in the Islamic world contributes to strengthening the religious and social foundations of the Muslim community in Georgia. Investment and assistance from various Islamic organizations contribute to the renovation and development of mosque facilities and religious education. Overall, the development of mosques in Georgia reflects the long journey of the Muslim community in the country. Despite facing various challenges, the future of mosques and Muslims in Georgia shows a positive trend toward better integration and greater contributions to the country's cultural and social diversity.